Hey, my people, welcome back to the Transformative Live Show. Today's episode is deeply personal for me. I'm here to share a story that's taken me 16 years to fully accept, understand, and even heal from. It's a story of pain and resilience, fear and hope, and ultimately a journey back to life from the brink. I know many of you out there, veterans, mental health advocates, families, and those just seeking hope, they find something in this story that speaks to your own experience. Stay tuned.
And we'll be right back. Come with me, let's rap. Take a trip and we back. And we'll be right back. I stand for what you stand for. Hey, I get on the mic and I transform. Follow me on this world tour. The asteroid that you can't avoid. Follow me.
I want to take y'all back to when I first returned home, just out of the military, and I felt lost. For veterans like me, the battlefield isn't always left behind. You carry it with you. You feel it in your isolation, in moments of extreme mood swings. And in the way, you have these simple interactions that become overwhelming. In many ways, though, this new war rages in the mind. I like to turn to 34th number of Psalm, verse 18, where the Lord says, the Lord is close to the brokenhearted and save those who are crushed in spirit. That verse right there was one of my anchors, but back then I didn't know how to apply it. My life became a cycle of seeking distraction from the pain, gambling, drinking, toxic relationships. Each became a poor substitute for the brotherhood I had left behind. I want to tell you about that time because so many of us, veterans especially, reach for anything that might numb the hurt. But as I learned, numbing the pain only deepens the wound, and eventual suffering ensues. Imagine this. Every time your friends, family, even your neighbors shop online, you're earning cash. Sounds too good to be true, right? But it's real. And it's actually happening right now. You can actually make money just by letting people shop as they usually do. No need to just imagine anymore. This isn't another get-rich-quick scheme. It's a legit opportunity that's already paying people day after day, while they focus on the things they love. You don't need any special skills, and you don't need to be online all day. Just set it up once, and you're set to start earning passively every time people shop online. And here's the best part. I got an exclusive invitation link just for listeners of this episode. Click on that link in the description to get started. Imagine yourself earning for years to come just by helping others shop smarter. This opportunity doesn't come around every day, so don't wait. Just join now and let's start making money while others shop. Check out the link in the description. Sign up and let's start earning together. When I hit rock bottom, I thought I was just weak. All those years that I invested into training and preparing for deployment and overcoming the fear of dying, building up confidence so that I can perform my job correctly in the military. I couldn't associate myself with PTSD. It wasn't a term at all that I wanted to identify with. I wanted to be strong. I wanted to be the soldier, the combat soldier that I had become. I wanted to stay that way. I wanted to hide what I truly felt because all I can remember is drive on, soldier, just drive on. But in my darkest moments, I remember being in my darkest moments when I realized I needed help. I needed support. I needed someone to care, to pull what was inside me out and allow me to be vulnerable. You see, when we walk in darkness, our demons seem to ambush us all the time. And that's exactly what was happening to me. Nightmares, man. The nightmares were hell, pure hell, waking me up all times of the and when I wake up, it wasn't no better because I was living in paranormal, straight paranoid. It was all felt like, it all felt like an enemy that I couldn't see. Some of you might know what I'm talking about. Some of you can resonate with that. Some of you may be the wives or the husband of someone who's dealing with this right now. And the thing about it, man, these demons, they don't go away. They don't go away, but they're constantly sneaking up behind you, constantly like chasing you in your dreams. It's terrible. But there's an insightful quote that I like to give you where this quote says, healing begins by stepping into the light. As the saying goes, and acknowledging what we face. A lot of times we don't want to acknowledge what we face. As I told you at the beginning of this, I didn't want to associate myself with something that was far from what I was trained to be. I was trained to be a machine. And machines have no feelings. Machines have no ghosts. Machines aren't designed to break down. But they do. They do. Think of your car. The car you driving. You think that thing was built to last forever? There may be many attempts to roll out cars that are durable on the production line. But at some point, there's going to be some warning lights that come on that tell you that something is absolutely wrong. And a lot of times when we discover that there's something wrong, when we can clearly see something wrong, we have to shine light on it. And eventually, folks, my transformers, I had to confront the truth. What's that truth? PTSD. And that was a turning point. I'll never forget sitting in a psychologist's office, hearing the diagnosis for the first time. It was bizarre. And as every symptom was read down the list, I had to answer yes to each of them. There was no symptom that I could run from. I was properly diagnosed, properly. There's a strange relief, though, that comes, and a lot of you may not want to admit this, but I challenge you to start taking a chance on embracing the relief that comes from being able to finally name your pain, knowing what the pain is rather than trying to suppress it, trying to ignore it, while at the same time you're confused. There's a big ball of confusion that begins to boil in your brain. It's hard to decipher reality from fiction. But when you can pick up a piece of paper and start reading up on, okay, I identify with this. This is exactly what I've been going through. You're able to see your struggles in the light. And for the first time, I was able to see my struggles in the light. And that's a hard pill to swallow. It's real hard to be tagged and labeled like that. But there's a way. There's a way to get through it. There's a way to step further into the light and not be afraid anymore. Because deep down inside, and for me, I was scared of myself and I was scared of what others might think, especially those that I deploy with. Ain't no way in hell I was going to call someone up that I deploy with and say, man, I'm sick. I'm sick in the head, and I don't think I'm ever going to get better. Because that's the thing behind it too, is that once you come out into the light, and once you know what this animal you're wrestling with is that, man, there's no hope. There's no way I can defeat this because I know nothing about it. We can't make that mistake. Can't make that mistake by talking to ourselves in that fashion, by telling ourselves that, like, we can't defeat it. We're not going to come out of it. Resisting healing, the healing process at least. But I'm telling you, that's the first step. Embrace that strange, funny relief that you feel when you finally know what it is. Allow those struggles to go into light. You need it. Now, speaking of light, I'd like to share how my faith became a foundation in my healing journey. Now, I know people are going to have different opinions when it comes to faith. This sometimes can be a very triggering conversation. People, especially when you get specific about what your faith is. But I gotta be honest with you, man. You know, without faith becoming a foundation, I don't think I would have had any type of continuation in my healing journey, nor would I have found ways to anchor myself when everything I tried just didn't work. One thing about it, the Christian faith calls us to believe that we're never truly alone. And that furthers my point that when nothing works, when you have absolutely tried everything, talk to everybody, where do you turn? Where do you turn? And there's going to be times where everything that does work might be not within reach. And I've been there, man. I've been there tons of time. In my darkest hours, I needed a promise that I could really rely on, and the promise that I found in Christian faith, where there is something bigger than you, there is God, there's Jesus that you can turn to and hold on to. You know, it definitely gave me something to hold on to. And for any veteran or person struggling, I challenge you. I challenge you to allow faith to be the light that helps guide you out of darkness, because it certainly guided me out of my darkness. And I would love to invite you to take that challenge, take up on that challenge and really give it a try. I mean, what's the worst can happen? That it works? Seriously, though. And there's a scripture, Romans 12:12, it says, be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, and faithful in prayer. And that verse is crucial, man. You know, when things is just not going the way it's supposed to, you lose all hope. You lose the ability to be joyful. There's nothing but doom and gloom a lot of times. And of course, when we are afflicted, when we're hurting, we're just ready for it to be over with. We're ready for it to be over with. We're not at all patient with the pains, and a lot of times when we are rushing for it to be over with, that snowballs into anxiety, and before you know it, you're ruminating over and over again, and you're suffering instead of just dealing with something that's just temporary. A lot of this is temporary. And another powerful thing, which is found in the scripture, the last part of it, faithful in prayer. How many times have you been able to really sit there with your honest and most open dialogue, where you can really just lay it all out of line and put all that weight you're feeling on to someone else, I mean, surely there's friends, there's people that we love, but sometimes when we vent to them or we have like a very transparent dialogue about our emotions and what's ailing us, that conversation don't reciprocate sometimes. Doesn't reciprocate, and sometimes it just goes very one way in the direction, and perhaps where nowhere knows what's going to happen with the information. So it can be very hard to talk to people, especially when you're looking for solutions, or you're looking for answers, and they may not have them. They may not be able to relate. They may not be able to understand. But one thing I found in the Christian faith is the power of prayer and being able to have, whatever type of dialogue you want. And, and it can be very simple if we just allow ourselves to sit there and quiet, sit there away from everything, and really just lay all that weight onto a God that can provide you uh, with guidance and with direction if you listen. And even if you don't get the guidance or direction, and maybe you feel a little silly, like waiting to hear from something you can't see, the very act of just releasing all of that transparently and emptying yourself, it a lot of times it do make a room for all of the joy to come back in when you can get rid of that. So one thing that the Christian faith does allow, even when we're struggling in prayer, because like we're expecting to see something, we're expecting to hear something back, is that we become all a part of a church community when we join a church. Or some churches like the churches I attend have men's groups. They have groups for women. They have groups for kids, and they have groups on different topics that may be very difficult to address during a sermon or with someone else. And so you get to be around like-minded people who have the same values, similar values as you, and you can really uh, get some ideas bounced back and forth, and then you learn how to search for these answers through scripture. So finding a church community really helped me out. I have bounced around since my time in the military, from a Baptist church to a Catholic church. So I was practicing as a Catholic for a little short period. While I was at the Baptist church, I was an associate minister. I got a chance to preach in the pulpit, and just like with anything, you grow, you transition, and you have a deeper desire to know truth, to be around people who think very similar to you, and want to worship the same. And so one church wasn't really providing that, and then do Catholicism, it was very cool to be able to have a connection with the priest over the parish, and be able to like have my one-on-ones with him, and do confession. Confession was very powerful for me. But the game changer became like when I arrived at a non-denominational church, and it was a little bit more bigger than any church I ever attended before. And they had something called small groups, and that was pretty cool, where you can just jump into a small group during a week and fellowship with other people, have community with other men that are sharing in the same type of struggles and pain. But now I'm at a much larger church. It'd be likened to a mega church, and I was a little, I was very overwhelmed when I first attended that church. But what I found out is they are very personal, and in the approach, and they have the groups too. They even have more groups, and they have more activities you can be part of, and I think it's very, very rewarding to be a part of community. Community is great, but it's not the whole answer. So it's just one part of healing. Because healing is a journey, and faith is one powerful aspect of that journey. So although there's community, you still got to have faith that whatever you are striving towards, especially when it comes to healing and getting away from some of the things that has been ailing you, for a great deal of your life, and that's going to continue to be part of your life to the day you die, is to have faith that every day could, the next day can be better, or the next hour can be better, not just going through the motions, and not just, hey, I'm doing this because I got to. I'm doing this because, they say it's going to work. I don't know. It may not work. But really just, living life with true optimism, healthy optimism, because faith is very tied to healthy optimism, in my opinion. And just allowing things that you do just to work yourself out, because you trust that you're going to get A all the way close to Z. Okay. So, in a retrospect, I had to take action, and hopefully this story, as I continue to tell it, will, help you to take action as well. Now let's talk about what really means to face your demons. I talked about facing demons earlier, and so I know for a lot of you, when I said that, I really was an eye opener for you, and it really think about your own demons. So for me, it meant years of back and forth, right? Had all these years of back and forth between jail cells, hospitals, and a lot of different broken relationships. It was tough. It was tough because I just didn't really I didn't see any progress during those years. I didn't really understand what was taking me from here to here to there to there, and then dealing with all of these different women, and creating just more brokenness within myself. So at first, naturally, right, I thought healing meant fixing myself. Thought because I'm broken. That's the first thing we think. It's like, I'm broken, I'm not worth anything, I'm a total thorn in the side of everyone, and and not just the thorn. I'm dealing with myself on my side, and I need to be fixed. So if I'm going to get healed, I got to start fixing everything. But what I come to find out, as I worked with mental health professionals, a community of other veterans who had already started the journey, I began to realize that healing isn't about fixing. It isn't about fixing. There's nothing within yourself that you can go in like as if it's microscopic surgery, and just take right out. You take this part out, you take that part out, and then it's all better. It doesn't work like that. So what is it? What is it really about? What is it really about? It's about understanding. First of all, starting to understand what it is that you are dealing with, and what is the gravity of it, and where are you in the scope of it all. I guess, where are you in the scope of PTSD? Like I said, when I went back, when I take it back, and I first discovered the diagnosis, when I had the diagnosis, and then seen all the symptoms, and I was able to check yes at the symptoms, that was the first stage of beginning to understand. But it took a much more deeper dive to understand, when I started really taking the effort to research on my own, and really, see, what the things that people typically are triggered by, and what was the flashbacks all about? What does the nightmares mean? And all of these different things. And then once I got around other veterans and seeing that like I wasn't alone, and then they were giving me, some ideas on how they deal with it and how they speak to it. It really gave me, a huge understanding. And then when I began to open up more to a lot of mental health professionals and other providers, I would get feedback like, oh, okay, well, this is maybe have you thought about this? Have you considered this? You know, and that really put it in a huge perspective. It put it in a real better perspective for me. And then the next thing is organizing. You gotta get organized. And one thing about soldiers, we're trained to be very neat and polished and the best of the best. We practically superhuman, and one of the things that big boot camp really harks on is like being organized and having everything that you need, and having every tool and weapon at your ready. And so I had to figure out like how can I translate those skills into like organizing some of the thoughts I'm having, which tool will work for which symptom, and understanding and organizing myself in a matter where have a schedule. Having a schedule was really crucial because that speaks to the next thing, which is learning how to manage what I couldn't control. So being able to have a schedule, putting myself on a schedule, similar to like how I was in the military, it was a game changer because it allowed me to really, look at like, okay, this is, I can control like planning. And as things came up, I can filter it into the whole week and give myself permission on things that like maybe wouldn't work for that day or work right then and there. And I started seeing that I had choices, I had options. And when we like have things happening within our mind that are just all over the place, we begin to think that like reality is like that too outside of us. We think that life can make you very fractured and make you, and it can be very hectic. I mean, life absolutely can, but when you steal back the power of knowing that you got options to, when something's not going right, to try it this way, or maybe take a step back and really absorb the whole situation and scenario and say, well, maybe I'm getting ahead of myself, or maybe I need to slow down, or maybe I need to take a rest and a break for the day. And that's a lot more better. It reduces the clutter, especially the clutter in your mind. Yeah, it empowers you. It very much empowers you. Okay, because then in real time you can start catching, what your triggers are. You can start, taking note of crazy symptoms that, and I don't mean to use crazy, but but I think it's very appropriate here. But symptoms that are like continue to kind of chase behind you and prevent you from living a very productive life. Okay, which is a good way to encourage you right now with some very encouraging reflection by telling you that understanding your triggers is like learning the enemy's playbook. It's an absolute strategic advantage. And that's what you need to understand. That's one of the things you need to understand is what your triggers are. And the only way you can do that is if you become more organized and start managing what you can control versus what you can't control. And triggers, a lot of times you're not going to be able to control on the onset of them, but you can choose how you respond to them. You can choose how you respond to your triggers. You can choose to know what they are, because once you have knowledge of what they are, you're already ahead of the game. And it's like someone's trying to run a play on you, a run play, but you already know, like, they're going to run to the left, to the strong left, and all you gotta do is be sitting there waiting for it to tackle it down. That's a good analogy, I believe. But for me, learning how to compartmentalize my symptoms, instead of making them so big, bring them down to a size that I can really understand them. Put them where they fit most at. If this is physical related, put it with the physical related symptoms. If this is emotional regulation, I put that symptom in the emotional regulation box. If this has anything to do with sleep interruption and nightmares, put it right there, and learn to deal with those things by recognizing my triggers. That's what I did. I started recognizing my triggers and developing tools to manage them, and it brought back that sense of control. Because once you compartmentalize and then you recognize what the triggers are, you know which tool to take out of the toolbox to deal with it and manage it. It's not about fixing. It's about turning off the faucet if it's running. If it's running and starting to flood up the house. Okay? Sometimes that's all you need to do is just turn off the faucet. Turn off the doggone faucet and then look at all the water around you, and what do you need to get up the water? Okay, maybe I need a shock vac, or maybe I need a mop. What do I need, to deal with the aftermath of the situation after it happens? One of the most important parts of this journey was rediscovering my purpose. Okay. The military it taught me, discipline and a sense of mission. But for a while, I lost that purpose. I had missed waking up every morning, knowing which clothes I was going to put on, because it was the same clothes, same type of clothes every day, same type of boots, same type of socks, same undershirt, and then underwear, I just had my choice of underwear. But other than that, like, I knew once I put that uniform on, I had a shared mission with other comrades that we were all on the same mission. I had my job. I knew what my job was as a supply clerk, working in the motor pool, pretty much dealing with vehicle parts and other various supplies to help with the mission. But when I came back, that was all gone. That was all gone. I didn't know what I was going to do. And it seemed like it was going to be hopeless to find what was next for me. What was the next thing for me? And it was very hard to think about the next thing, because all I could think was like, man, I'm broken. I can't be used again, and if I can't go back and be a soldier, what the hell I'm going to do? So to every veteran listening, finding a new mission, especially one that speaks to your soul, can be key to true healing. All right. And something that I want to call you guys to do, and it was something that I did myself. You got to think about what once gave you purpose, and then find ways to adapt it into your life now, because those skills are still there. Those fine-tuned movements are still there, and you can find ways to adapt it into your life now if you think about it. And as I became someone who got very interested in entrepreneurship, I saw that a lot of my military skills of being a leader and being very organized, sticking to a schedule and creating a mission and creating values for the business and all these sort of things. It was an easy adaptation once I realized it, but it started with me on a small scale before I went to something much big to make a difference. Was writing, was writing, and then connecting with other people and veterans and other people through this podcast. You know, that's I didn't realize the podcast will become my way to give back. And the podcast, the writing that I do, it's definitely a huge way to make a difference. And it started making me feel whole again, okay? Because I was able to talk about things that other people could relate to. I was able to bring on, different specialists in this field and talk with some celebrities who really have a strong sense of being moved, whole sense to be moved to advocate on behalf of veterans or just on the behalf of anyone who's suffering with mental illness. It was my way to talk back um, to the things I was dealing with on a day-to-day basis. So I've been able to deal with like the things I deal with on a day-to-day basis by coming on and offering some of my knowledge, some of my experiences to help other people. And man, I definitely feel whole again. I don't feel like I'm useless. I don't feel broken. Feel transformed. Does the name Transform You Live show, and Transform You Media Network is the company. But I feel great, and I think when you discover that whatever that is for you, maybe it's not a podcast, maybe it's not writing, but please start with writing because writing gets those thoughts down and get the brain to going because then you can start like looking at different patterns of things you might have did previously versus what you might be called to do. And we're all called. We never stop being called, just like we took the call to be soldiers. The call isn't over with. The mission isn't over with. It's just a new mission that you may got to make sure is in line with who you are. And it definitely speaks to me, what I do with my work, and it speaks to others, and that's a big part of that I love, that so many other people benefit as much as I do. And it's just not a me thing, and I don't feel alone anymore. I feel like there's much more bigger community, even outside of my local community, that share in this struggle. And if there's any way you can, find a way to, become passionate in something, I think, it's not that I think, it's actually, I know, it's going to be rewarding for you, and it's going to really allow you to pick up all of those pieces that you drop and attach them back to yourself. Now, let's talk about the people around you, because that is important, man. I mean, having the right people around you is so important when it comes to healing. Your healing requires support. You can't do it alone. You cannot do this alone. And as veterans, we're often reluctant to let others in. We just don't trust people. I mean, especially when you've been to a war zone, it's hard to trust people. Even if you haven't been to a war zone and you've gotten very used to being part of the military community, and then you have an understanding of like how things work in the military, and when you come back to the civilian world, it's like things is like, no, this is not how it's supposed to be. Why are they doing this? Why things aren't on the schedule? Why the people show up late? Yeah, I mean, it's all these different things that are very opposite of your world. And this can apply to anybody. Maybe you were used to something, and then you realize that, okay, these people they're, like, they may not be like me, they're going to judge me. They're going to look at me different. But the supportive family, first of all, is where you can start. And a lot of times we have family who totally get it, and may have went through what you went through. They've been seeing you go through what you go through, and they have a huge ton of compassion for you. And so they can be there for you to help you as you continue along the way. Faith, I mentioned faith earlier, and faith is so crucial. Faith is so crucial, and I don't know what I would do without it, because, if I didn't have faith, my circle would be so much more smaller than that. Faith has given me an extension of other brothers and sisters in faith that I can turn to say, hey, can you pray for me? Hey, I'm going through this, and I don't know what to do about it. What have you done about it in the past? It's very, very helpful. And it was a good companion to the professional, which is invaluable too, because these people, they get paid. Yes, they get paid to hear your problems, and and to give you some guidance, and also to diagnose you or prescribe medication. But these people, they wouldn't have went into that field if they truly didn't care. And that's something that I was struggling with at first. It's like, man, this guy is just getting paid to listen to me. This person, this woman is just getting paid. She don't care about me. But once you establish that relationship with professionals who are in this field, their true personalities, and like their true compassion, a level of compassion shows, and it shows up when you need it. I can't tell you how many times I had to call the crisis line, because those people are trained also to deal with, like, exactly what it says, crisis. But calling the crisis line or texting it, if you can text it also, and the number is 988 for those who are wondering. But the crisis line, yeah, I just recall just really at my thick's end, and where I feel like nobody would hear me, nobody would like totally like be patient enough with me in a crisis, because like everybody's, maybe it's too late at night, or maybe it's too early in the morning, or maybe you're too far away from whatever the case may be. But like, for me, I would I call that number at different times of the hour. And each time I have gotten positive responses, and instant, responses where sometimes I didn't have a need to go to the hospital to get further evaluation and be put on suicide watch, or, there was times where, I utilized that number, and people on that crisis line, a person on that crisis line was definitely able to like bring me from 10 all the way down to a 1, and to where like the problem I thought I was having seemed like virtually nothing, so it's invaluable to have professional help. Don't take it for granted, be open to the support of family and faith as well. For those who may feel alone, you can also reach out to me. I'm considered a professional as a person who's associated with the Association of Healthcare Journalists. My podcast definitely strives to tackle, whatever you're struggling with. You can, look on my playlist on YouTube, and it's in categories of like the different resources that you can like go back and watch some of these videos. If you like audio, go to any podcast app and just go back and replay some of those older episodes, and you'll find that, like, man, there's a wealth of knowledge, not only for myself, but some of the guests that I have had on, who can, help you with whatever you're dealing with. And, again, feel free to reach out to me directly. I'm starting to put my calendar a lot more in the episode description so that people can, book a call with me if you feel the need to book a more formal call. Otherwise, my email is always available. Too. I'm available by email, marcushartful4@gmail.com. As always available. But for me, going back to me again, I found my greatest strength in leaning on the church, okay, leaning on veteran community and mental health providers. And again, if you're not a veteran, there are tons of groups, like meetup groups too. Tons of meetup groups where you can meet awesome people. I remember I came across Toastmasters in the app meetup, and I made some great friends in Toastmasters. Great friends that really cared about me and really was very supportive. So it don't have to just be a veteran community or anything else. It can be any type of community, and even us on this podcast, those who are subscribed and those who continue to come back and listen to the podcast, we are a community. So you can always drop comments in the comment section and get, maybe you get some feedback from other people. And, I have like a real close commitment to making sure that everyone's heard that chimes in on the podcast. Mental health providers, again, invaluable. Utilize those mental health providers. Not only do they get paid to do it, but these people really care about their patients. And I think it's, some of them like maybe grew up always wanting to be in the field or always wanted to provide some type of care to others. And give them a chance. Okay. And, the beauty about mental health providers is if if one doesn't fit with you, you can always, find one that does. Okay. Because they are far and wide and diverse and very diverse and who you can talk to or who you can get help from. Another quote for you, the journey of healing is not a solo mission. It's a call to community. It's a call to community. All right. And we should look at it that way. Even if you're struggling, remember, you don't have to walk this path alone. There are people who genuinely care. And I discovered that. I know it's real. And I know it may not seem that way because of the way the world is. And maybe you dealt with people before in the past and they just wasn't patient with you, or they cast you off. But when you go seeking in the right place, you come across people who are genuine and who are authentic and have a love for people who don't want to be alone on their healing. All right. My journey isn't unique, but it's proof that healing is possible. I'm still a work in progress myself, but today I stand in my truth, people, unafraid of the scars that I have that have shaped me. To those out there who are suffering, I want you to know healing is a journey, not a destination. And one more scripture for you, Isaiah 41:10. So do not fear, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you and help you. I will uphold you with my righteous right hand. If you're ready to start your journey, know that support is out there. Don't hesitate to reach out. I want you to challenge your own thoughts. Start thinking differently and find the community you need, whether it's here on the Transform You Live show or anywhere else that may be helpful. There are different resources out there, a ton of them. I want to thank you guys today for joining me on another episode of the Transform You Live show. That's Transform the Letter U Live show. If this episode resonated with you, share it and consider leaving a comment or a review. And if you want more guidance on your own journey, grab my book, The Holistic Guide on Mental Health, and join a free group coaching session. The link for that is in the description. Till next time, Stay strong, stay hopeful, and remember, healing is within reach. Many blessings, peace, and lots of love. I'm out.
I stand for what you stand for. I'm at your door like the landlord. I can see the future, yeah, I fast forward. I get on the mic and I transform. Follow me, I'm in rare form. Follow me on this world tour. The asteroid that you can't avoid.